So I had seen yesterday people saying, "Oh, this is because in November the South Korean priests called for his impeachment." But it sounds like you're saying there actually isn't any clear. There's no clear direct cause and effect between critics of Yoon and his decision to try to seize total power over his country.
I think that is a factor at play. So that is, it's good you bring that up, Emily, because he is a deeply unpopular figure. So he was elected in 2022 by a razor thin margin, so less than 1%. He outmatched the the left of center presidential candidate Lee Jae-myung, who was front and center last night. Of course, he's a big figure in the left. We can come back to and talk a little bit more later because he's relevant here. Yoon, so is deeply unpopular. His approval rating is somewhere around 18%, 16 to 20%, and probably even lower now. Certainly lower now, I would think. His ruling party, the People's Power Party, has a sort of razor-thin majority in the National Assembly, which has 300 members total, but two main parties. His party was the ruling party and had most seats, but not by a lot. And because of a whole host of issues, including economic mismanagement, economic policy mismanagement, the alleged impropriety of the First Lady, her name's Igoni. There's a bunch of controversies about her, impropriety, gift taking, the sort of stuff of controversies for that type of social dynamic. And sort of impropriety in the operating of the country's business made him deeply unpopular and sort of an object of impeachment inquiry and desire. So yeah, he felt like he was under the gun. More recently, his his appointees and members who are sort of attached to sort of like his sort of political ruling group, if you will, have been targets of impeachment inquiries to remove them. And so he felt cornered. And there have been calls to impeach him before, which they probably would have went through at some time. He was a lame duck president with no power. They couldn't even get a budget passed. So the ruling party is supposed to pass a new budget. This is sort of led by the president in this case, and that was also stuck in the National Assembly. They couldn't get it passed. So they were at total loggerheads. And I guess he felt completely cornered and thought that a way out of this for him and his allies was to declare martial law? Question mark.
Right. And so before I let Rohan get a word in edgewise here. Okay. So he declares martial law. There's the standoff at the National Assembly. As we're recording this just spoiler for the listeners, this plan did not work. So what happened? Why did this fail?
So it failed because pretty much, as I mentioned, immediately National Assembly members returned to the assembly, got in, because they got there earlier, they forced their way in. And they passed a motion. 190 members were there, all 190 members, which was primarily the opposition, but included, I believe, 16 members of the ruling party, passed a motion to nullify as invalid the martial law decree. That constitutionally then goes to the cabinet, so the president's administration. When we say the Yoon administration, that's him and his cabinet members, where it's supposed to be obliged as per the Constitution. And so they eventually agreed to do this. So that's what ended it. I think it's important to note that this was a deeply, deeply unpopular move. It may sound obvious, but I think it's worth underscoring. There isn't really anyone who supported this of note. I think you had military commanders who were carrying out their duty, as per a chain of command. But other than that, the mayor of Seoul, the chairman of the People's Power Party, so the president's own party, he sort of disavowed the decree immediately and said he would side with the people. Unions were out, civic groups were demonstrating, despite it being technically illegal at the time, in front of the National Assembly. And there was sort of a flurry of activity in opposition to the move. South Korea is a deeply democratic society, despite some of the problems that I think we're going to unpack a wee bit here. And this is like a move that really harkens them back to the days of autocracy. But South Korea does have a history with martial law decrees. They had one most recently in 1979. That's when Park Chung-hee, their military dictator, who kind of developed the country, he died, and this guy Chun Do-won came to power. 1979-80, consolidated power. He's the one who sent paratroopers to Gwangju, where they had that uprising where many were killed. So people are thinking of this yesterday, and that's jarring. I mean, I have feed of my colleagues who are in South Korea or South Korean in the country or elsewhere, and it's a jarring sort of development that no one expected, and people in Korea feel this too. And so there's sort of a whole of society reaction to this, and he buckled as if he didn't even want to do it. It was bizarre. The shortest lived self-coup ever. I don't think that might not be technically correct, but certainly felt that way. Spiritually true. I mean, think about this. He declared this at 10:25, and it was over before sunrise, pretty much.
And like to go to your job the next day in South Korea, you would have slept through it.